Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely.
All right, excellent. Today, we're tackling something I think everyone listening can relate to. Failure.
Oh yeah, failure.
Ugh. Just saying the word kind of makes you cringe, you know?
Yeah.
But what if we've been thinking about it all wrong this whole time? What if, and stick with me here, what if failure isn't this big scary thing, but actually like a tool we can use?
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
Right. So let's ditch the doom and gloom and try to see failure from a fresh perspective. Like not as some external event that just happens to us, but
a choice.
yes.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. A decision. Not about if we get knocked down, but whether we decide to stay down.
I love that. It's so empowering, right? Because it puts you back in control.
Absolutely. It's like, hey, I tripped up, things went sideways, but am I really out of the game? Or am I just, figured out my next move?
Right. Regrouping.
Totally. Like I remember this one time I was working on this huge project, poured everything I had into it, and it completely flopped. At first, I felt like a total failure.
Right.
Crushed. But then I realized, hey, I learned a ton along the way. I picked up new skills, made connections, and that stuff I can take with me no matter what.
Exactly. It's like all those experiences, even the so-called failures, become part of your toolkit.
Love that analogy. It's not about avoiding failure altogether, but
Yeah.
how we react to it, right?
Right.
Like those people who seem to bounce back from anything.
Resilient people.
Yeah. They hit a roadblock, and it's like, bring it on. Is that part of this growth mindset thing?
Absolutely. A growth mindset is all about seeing challenges and setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow.
So instead of thinking, I'm a failure, it's more like, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I do differently next time?
Exactly.
I love that. So resilience is a muscle we can build.
Exactly. It's a skill you can develop over time, like anything else.
Okay, I'm in. So how do we train that resilience muscle? Is it like positive self-talk or visualization? Like those training montages in movies.
Well, there are lots of techniques you can use. One is reframing how you think about obstacles. Instead of seeing them as insurmountable walls, try to see them as puzzles to solve.
I like that. A challenge.
Exactly. Another important thing is to focus on your effort and what you're learning, not just the outcome.
Celebrate the small wins.
Yes. Acknowledge your progress, give yourself credit for the work you're putting in.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about shifting that internal dialogue from I'm failing to I'm learning. But what about when it feels like everything's stacked against you? Like the universe is just throwing everything it's got at you.
Right.
Can you always find a way to win in those situations?
That's a really important point, because while perseverance and aiming for your goals are super valuable, it's also important to acknowledge that stuff happens that's outside of our control. Sometimes, even when we put in the work, we might not achieve the exact outcome we were hoping for.
So does that mean we've failed?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It could actually be a sign that it's time to reevaluate, maybe adjust our approach, or even find a completely new path forward.
I see.
Because even in those situations, there are lessons to be learned, you gain experience, and often new opportunities pop up that you never even considered before.
It's about adapting, rolling with the punches.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like we're the directors of our own movies. Sometimes we got to rewrite the script.
I love that metaphor.
But how do we know when it's time for a rewrite? When do we stick to the original plan, and when do we adapt?
That's a question each person has to figure out for themselves.
Yeah.
It takes honest self-reflection, being open to feedback, and honestly, the courage to make changes when you need to.
So when do you push through and when do you pivot?
Exactly. Sometimes it might mean pushing through discomfort, sticking with it, knowing that growth happens in those tough moments.
Right.
But other times it might mean realizing the path you're on isn't leading where you want to go and being brave enough to explore a different direction.
So ultimately, it always comes back to choice.
Yeah.
The choice to keep learning, keep adapting, keep writing our own stories.
Beautifully said.
We may not always choose the ending, but we can always choose how we respond to the challenges we face along the way. And hey, maybe those unexpected twists and turns are what make our stories truly epic.
I think you're right. It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs and realizing that even the stuff we might initially label as failures can actually be really valuable if we choose to learn from them.
So next time you're facing a setback, remember it's not the end. It's just a plot twist.
Exactly.
And you get to decide what happens next.
Write your own story.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
See you next time.
We hope you walk away feeling empowered to write your own epic story.